Yeah, same thing in Beaufort. It's going to be kind of a weird month because I'm.
Back. Everything was seamless. It was not.
So you think I got a sensor issue?
Start of the meeting, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public notification of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act, also known as FOIA. First part of this is we're going to do the approval of the agenda. Anyone will do it as we have in the last meetings. Do we have any nays? Okay, the agenda is passed. We need also approval of the minutes from August 15th from last meeting. Any discussion on that? No? And we don't need a motion for that, do we? We can just go ahead and do it, can't we? I think, right?
Well, I think, Chris, you still need to do a motion, a second, and then if you want to.
Okay, do the motion. All right. Brian was very fast on it, and I want to make sure he gets that in. They get a second over here. Okay, Howard on the second. Do we have any discussion? No discussion? Does anybody, so let's see if we have anyone against the approval of the minutes from last week, for last meeting last month. Hearing none, that passes. Minutes are approved. Now we'll move to our public comment section. Limit your comments to 3 minutes, please, for the public. Do we have any public comments? Yes, we do. Winner, come on down.
Hello, Melinda Tunner, Palmetto Hall. Just a quick question. When I looked at the meeting from July, you talked about an FAA grant of $825,000. to lay out the future plans of the airports, both Hilton Head and Beaufort, for 5 to 10 years in the future. And I was just wondering, what is your stakeholder engagement process? So if I think about, the town with the Hilton Head Airport being in the town limits, as well as the community surrounding the airport, as there are concerns about potential continued extension of the runways as they are designed now. So,
Thank you. Well, we're not supposed to answer back on public
yeah.
comment, but we can maybe incorporate it into a report for the director's report.
All right, thank you.
Okay? Thank you very much, Linda, for your comments. Any other comments? Okay. Hearing none, we'll go to the director's report. John?
All right, moving right along. Hopefully this is picking me up okay. Let me make a note to make sure that I talk about the airport layout plan.
Hey, John, this is Nick. You guys can hear me? We're not seeing any video.
I can hear you, Nick. Can you not see anybody?
No video, no slides.
Okay. Yeah, well, let's check on that real quick, Nick. I think that was a problem last time we met over here too, wasn't it? As I understand.
What did he say?
See, no video, no slides. I think he can hear me because and we only hear you
Coming
through.
on your computer, it sounds like.
Yeah, we can't hear.
Yeah, we're only hearing you on my computer, Nick, at the podium, so.
Yeah, you have more? You can hear now? Okay.
So we're good?
Yeah, thank you. I can hear him, but unlike Nick, I can't see any slides.
Okay.
Who is supposed to?
Well, that'll teach you. You show up in person next time.
Talk to the airport about that for me, please.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you'd like, we can all, Rosia, will you make a note that we'll send the slides to both of these guys? It'll be a little bit tough because you won't have the context. So what you have to do is memorize everything I say. And then when you get the slides, you have to fill in the blanks and then we'll grade you on that. And if you pass, you get to keep your seat. And if you don't, then, we're going to have to hang you out to dry.
I always memorize everything you say, John.
Good answer. Mark, you're in. Okay. All right. So let's move through the director's report. That's a shot of the front entrance. I'm not sure if you guys saw the banners that we put out there a couple of months ago, but just to decorate the poles out front. Need to, oops, it's not set up for a slideshow yet. Hold on. I thought we were. All right, let's see. All right, okay. Well, it's not doing it on my screen, but. All right, these are just some shots of some rubber removal we did out on the runway. And the discoloration is just because it was actually still kind of wet from the nighttime work. But you couldn't see the numbers basically beforehand with the rubber that builds up. So we're doing that, about once a year, right? Now we're doing just as part of our preparation for the FAA certification inspection. So pilots appreciate that, obviously having the clean runways.
John, how do they remove that?
There's special equipment. It's like I guess the best way to describe it is like a kind of a souped up street sweeper, and with just high pressure
Okay.
water.
Organic chemicals and then street sweeper type stuff.
Yep, everything's
Curious how it worked.
biodegradable. All right, we did hold the business after hours last Thursday up at Beaufort Executive. So really excellent opportunity to kind of open up the venue up there, showcase that, and bring in a lot of folks from the area. It was catered by Q on Bay, so if you're in Beaufort, it's great food. And had a real nice crowd up there and some great sunset shots there. Had live music out on the veranda. And this was another opportunity to welcome people in and just remind them that we do offer that as a venue space. So it is a rentable space. And it's the only place in Beaufort that you can rent space on an airfield. So it was fun. It's nice. The terminal, again, we did that a couple of years ago, but the latest you can see in that last photograph, kind of bottom right, all that front area has been redone. The brick has been painted. We've got some new work out on the stoop to fix that up a little bit. We've got all the planters filled up and things too. So it really looked fantastic, and people enjoyed that. So it was a nice example of the airports being a community partner. Okay, so the runway 5K, the Flying Frog 5K is coming up in just under a month. So if you haven't been training, the time is now. You still have some time to sign up. And we really can use volunteers too. So if you don't want to walk or run this thing, we can use some volunteers. There's not a whole lot of turns on this course, but there are a couple, and we have had people miss turns on this, which is tough. We had somebody who was winning the race last year miss a turn. So that was unfortunate. So we do need some folks who are willing to help out and just sit at those turns and make sure runners just understand kind of where they are. Because it's not just two continuous loops of the taxiway and runway. You do go snake around the hangars and stuff like that. So there are a few turns to make. So please, if you're interested, check that out. And I'm going to try to play this video, but I've got a bunch of screens set up here, so let me see what I can do. Rocio, you've got 3 PowerPoints up here, so I'm not sure where I'm going. Maybe this is it. All right, ready? Let's try this.
Like right clicking it?
Well, I couldn't even get to the screen yet. There were 3 things open. Yeah, we need to verify. Come on out and run on the runway. Join us for the Flying Frog 5K, Saturday, October 12th. Yeah, Rocio, that's not the right one.
What's the date on that, John?
See, you got 3, there's 3 things open. I don't know what's supposed
Is
to
it
be
the
open.
5th or the 12th? I thought it was the 5th.
12th, okay.
Oh,
Which,
it is the
I
12th.
don't know why there's 2 things open there.
is this the one you're working
Okay, I thought it was
from?
No idea.
Okay, we
Just
can
close
start.
that one.
Yeah.
This is it.
That's not it.
Well, no, that's the link.
It worked, but I want to close it, I'm going to try it
Yeah,
again.
now the PowerPoint's closed.
Missed the turn.
So you gotta open PowerPoint again.
That's obviously why I've never missed a turn.
Don't close anything else. 'Cause you kick these guys out. Just open PowerPoint.
Let me see here.
There's Mark.
Where is it loaded? Is it on a thumb
It
drive?
says in the
All right,
top.
here,
Oh,
let
okay,
me-
so yeah, so that, yeah,
yeah,
we'll
go
just
there.
go, yeah. There it is. All right. I don't know what,
All right, let me see if
the
this
way
will-
we did, we just highlighted it and
Sure,
right-clicked it
sure.
when we were doing it,
Not gonna work.
All right, this might do it. All right.
you gotta, I think, right. No, like go high, like right-click on it. I don't know why it's not activated, John. It was working perfectly when we tried it.
Let me see if this will go up there. Come on out and run on the runway. Join us for the Flying Frog 5K, Saturday, October 12th at 8 a.m. This is a fast, flat course. It's USA Track and Field certified, so your record counts. All finishers get a medal. Walkers and strollers are welcome. So please, don't waste any time. Sign up on runsignup.com or groundedrunning.com.
You'll run around the hangar, down the flat line, and up on the taxiway. Trophies will be awarded to top 3 male and female finishers. Sign up is only a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Control reach.
ESX. Equipment defect detector. Milepost 5.3. Track number 2. First hotbox axle 4-8 north. Rail from head of train.
So October the 12th at 8 o'clock is when we're starting off. And fun story, in the August
we got a couple
Public
trains
Facilities
on
and
the
Safety
way.
Committee meeting, which is our meeting. These guys, who else was here? Chris was here, Dave, you were there. We had a couple board members there, and it was funny because
Got the work train
while
coming out of the
my boss,
yard.
Jared, was briefing this event,
And got a
to
train
council,
coming
he said,
westbound.
tradition, we've not had, county council or administration participation in the race. And the chairman of the committee, Logan Cunningham, spoke up and said, well, I'll do it if Mike does it. And he's the new county administrator. And Jared just started laughing. And he said, I'm not sure you know what you got into, because Mike's a marathoner. So anyway, I kept sending emails and that to both of them saying, hey guys, you haven't signed up yet, Well, this week Mike signed up. So the county administrator is going to run the race. And so this morning I sent an email to Logan with the video clip from that meeting where you can hear his voice clear as a bell. Good job, County TV. Clear as a bell, saying that he would run the race and that Mike would run the race. And then I took a screenshot of Mike's registration and I emailed it to Logan and I said, look forward to seeing you on the 12th. So we should see a county administrator and at least one of the county council members run the race. Or money on it. It doesn't matter, right? And just for everybody's information, we do have folks who walk the race, so it's a friendly, laid-back race. There's a few people who go out there and scream through it, but it's pretty laid back. So a lot of people come out and have fun. Just another opportunity to open up the airport. And there's not many places where you can run out the road. It's a pretty unique experience. It's being an airport guy. It's fun to be out there. So, take advantage of that, and hey, come meet your new county administrator and one of our council members. All right, Greta, Steve, I'm gonna let you talk about it. I don't know much about Greta. I haven't met her yet. Miles out of that. Yeah, getting hit by a train. This always works in county council chambers. I don't know. We got too many things going on.
So Greta, this is Greta. She's part of the program that we have where we bring in, I don't want to say, they're called comfort dogs. And they come into the airport at our busy times or the commercial airport. Sometimes we get visitors and passengers that walk off the airplane and they're shaking a little bit or they need something to calm down with, and they bring in these dogs. But Greta's, she's important. She's about to retire. She's 13 years old and probably the calmest, sweetest dog. So I had to get a picture of her, and she was making her laps, some of her final laps around our terminal before she retires. She used to be with kids, but a little bit older. She doesn't like the kids pulling on her ears and stuff. So the airport terminal is kind of the good place where you can walk by somebody sitting down and she'll just sit right next to you and pet. So that's Greta. I thought it was great to have her up there. Yes, ma'am. Not while I was there. She is a German Shepherd, so it could be a little standoffish to some people, but she's a smaller German Shepherd. So, but she's very approachable. And I think once people see that she's with her handler and people are petting her, they come up and they're like, oh, it's a sweet dog. So. Service. Right.
Yep. Or if they're the little ones that fit in the carry, some people carry them with them. Yep. Yeah, we've had a couple of comfort dogs over the years, and it is nice to have them there. Howard, you have a question? You look like you had something there. Okay. All right. We do get the official working dogs in there though, and they're obviously on the job when they're there, so there's no mistaking which is which.
Yeah, because at other airports, it's kind of a known factor that you don't touch the dogs because they are working dogs. That's why I was wondering if we.
Yeah, well, and even there's a distinction between therapy dogs and comfort dogs. You know, therapy dogs are not to be, they're someone's personal therapy dog. Whereas a comfort dog is somebody who's open to everyone. So you're not supposed to engage therapy dogs unless the owner invites you to do that. But with a comfort dog, they're kind of there for people to pet and engage with, so. All right, now this won't advance for me. We'll get there. All right, meet Ferris. It's the blower, not the guy. That's Rob riding Ferris. I didn't even realize we named this thing. But every new piece of gear goes to help the airport. So this helps to get rid of FOD. And it also is nice because, you know, sometimes when you get the rain, you end up with some puddling out on the GA ramp or something like that. And so this can go by and get rid of that. And that helps because with water comes birds who like to walk around in the water or take the baths in the water. We don't need that on the airfield. So this will serve a bunch of different purposes. So good to have that. All right, next. Not yesterday, 2 days ago, we had the local chapter of the Naval Academy Alumni Association come by and we did a visit. So that's a crew there. It's a mix of folks from north of the Broad and south of the Broad. You may see on the far left of that is our own retired board member, Barry Wilbur. He's class of 77, which is fun because he's 50 years separated from my son. My son's going to be 27, he's 77. So they're actually linked. It's a sponsor class, my son's class, so it's kind of fun. But anyway, had a great visit. Every one of those folks, and we had somebody wearing a class of 58 hat, every one of those folks climbed the tower. Yeah, so if you think you have problems, you need to hang out with this group. They did pretty well. So it was a beautiful day. They all got to ride in the trucks too. Everybody got to rotate through the tower in the trucks. So they had a great time. So we really enjoyed that. All right, quick update on the terminal. Got some steel going up. If you haven't been by, it's starting to look like a building, so it's exciting. That's the first column that was being set on September the 5th. And since then, they've been pretty busy putting things together, and it's probably changed already today. So this is the beginning of this week, a lot going on. And here you can see some of the curbing for the new road that's going to be there. You can see some of the sidewalk and that getting formed up. And then this is yesterday. So rock is going down as the base for that new road out in front, and the building is still getting built. So there's a lot that's happening over there, and we're excited to see that take shape. All right, now I've got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. So this is a few of the items, and we'll go through these. I got a few notes as well to go through. But first, the update on the ARW hangars. We bid that site work for the project, and we did get a good bid on that. So we'll be getting the contract award approved at council this coming Monday. It was approved by committee recently, this past Monday. So that's moving forward. And we worked with Chris and a couple other members of the board to put together a couple of funding options so that we can execute the entire project. So we didn't want to just do the site work and then have to wait and execute the vertical portion of the project. We need hangars badly out there. And then the larger hangar that we'll do is going to be a good revenue piece for the airport. I know you guys talked about that back in July. So that set of options has been sent into the review pipeline for the county, and will probably be on the agenda for the October Finance Committee meeting. And then in the interim, we'll have a meeting with the airports and finance folks and county administrator to just go through the details of those different funding options. But the hope is we get that full project funded. And it does have the advantage of being a project that when it is built, it'll be fully occupied and generating revenue immediately. So it's not like we're going to have vacancies. The hangar list is 68 people long, so we'll definitely be able to fill these up. But that's where we stand. We will be bidding the vertical portion of this probably once we get an answer on the funding. But the site work's ready to go, and we're actually probably either applying for or have applied for a South Carolina Aeronautics Commission grant. So we'll be coming up to see it. And to help with that site work as well, because they do participate up to the pad, not the slab, but the pad. So we'll be able to get some help on there. That'll be a good project to get moving.
And what do we think on, on the site prep side, what do you think dirt would be moving roughly? I know we can't get an exact sense of bid.
Yeah, it's hard to say because we haven't awarded it yet. I mean, we know who's gonna get it, but we haven't awarded it, and it's Gulfstream Construction who is our low bid.
Okay.
But once we award it and meet with them, we'll establish a notice to proceed date and get that project scheduled. So we just don't know until we have those discussions.
We think it'll be before the end of the year.
To get it started?
Yeah.
I don't know. Definitely to have those discussions in a pre-construction meeting, yes. But as far as a notice to proceed, I'm not sure what that'll be yet. Yep. But, we do want to move it quickly, especially if that funding all comes through. Then we want to keep everything moving along smoothly. So that's a really good news story. And if that works out right, it's really going to, what I told the council members a few weeks ago is that this is probably the most transformative decision they'll make for that airport, at that sitting council. So it's an important project. All right, HXD animal policy. This is an interesting one. This is a product of a couple of things, but probably the one that really helped us out the most was we recently finished a wildlife hazard assessment, which every commercial airport has to do as part of Part 139 safety certification. So we finished that and got an excellent report back from USDA who did that for us. And one of the recommendations that they have in there is to have a policy at your airport that prohibits feeding animals on or near the airport for what hopefully would be obvious reasons. But, feeding animals can certainly lead to that whole chain of events where a small animal attracts a larger animal and it moves on down the line and something ends up somewhere on the airfield, and now you have birds of prey and things like that on the airfield, and stuff like that never mixes well with aircraft. So a lot of people don't see the harm in something in close proximity, having that type of activity going on, feeding animals and things, but even excess food attracts rodents, which starts the chain moving, and you can end up with a catastrophic loss of life and property, from an airplane ingestion of an animal. So very important reason to have that policy, and we'll be getting that in place soon at the airport. I'll probably send a draft over to you guys, take a look at it if you like. I'm trying to think what else came out of that one. It was a pretty good report. I had something else on my mind. I can't remember what it was, but anyhow, we'll move along there. Wings for All. This is a really good program we're going to be working on at the airport. And this is done, Enterprise Rent-A-Car teams with a group. And I think is it called the ARC? I forget. It was ARC for South Carolina or something like that. But it's an organization that's focused on making the travel experience something that's not intimidating, not confusing and scary for folks who may be on the spectrum. Maybe they're autistic or something like that, and different sensory issues could cause, adverse reactions or just nervousness and things like that. But this program is one where the organization teams up with Enterprise, and I think they've got a partnership with Delta. And what they do is they will come at a time when the airport's not real busy, and they'll run through an entire travel experience with folks who are interested in participating. They'll go through ticketing, they'll go through TSA, and they'll actually board the aircraft and get a feeling for what that whole process is, so that when they eventually do that on their own or just in a crowd of people, it won't be quite so intimidating. So that opportunity came by, and it seemed like a really great thing to do, very easy for us to participate in. So it's kind of one of those why not do this kind of things. So we don't have dates set yet, but we want to let you know that that's another interesting program that I think is a benefit at the airport. All right, the alphabet soup there, the DBE and ACDBE and Title VI. The reason I put that up there is because, sometimes people ask us, well, what do you do as an aircraft or airport director, airport administrator? What do you do? And sometimes it's hard to answer that question. But recently, I've decided that it's about what do I do? I would say 60% of what I do is complying with state and federal regulations. No kidding, probably 60% of my life is compliance, mostly with federal regulations. And these are just three of literally probably about 300 that we comply with. And second, we follow up with people who we've asked to do things for the airport. And then we have about 5% of time to do what we really need to be doing. So it's kind of interesting, but these programs are in place as, you know, the different administrations tend to focus on at different times, and we have to comply with them because they tie these compliance programs to your grant money. So you have to do them. They are necessary. They do create some good opportunities because you do end up, when you bid projects, you do end up sometimes opening those projects up to contractors and subcontractors who might not otherwise see them. So it's a good thing. So these are just the ones that are on our scope right now to finish up because the feds, the FAA has deadlines on these too for getting programs implemented at the airport. So we're working with the FAA on those. But compliance is a big part of what we do. So if you see me stuck in the office sometimes, that's probably what I'm doing. Okay. PFC 6, if you don't remember, PFCs are the passenger facility charges. That's where you collect a little bit of money from each emplaned passenger. That'll be signed off pretty soon. We did not get any comments back from the airlines. So, and they have a 30-day period to review the package and decide if they have anything to say. They were all good with it, so that's going to move forward. So we'll put final language together, and then I'll brief county council on it. There's really not much to be formally approved. It'll just be put into effect and hopefully start collecting by the end of this year. We're not sure, but this helps to pay back the airport's portion of projects. So when we have our share of a project fee, this pays it back to us. So it's an important program.
How much is that going up, John?
Well, how much is the
PFC? How much is that rate?
Well, the rate is always
It's standard,
the
it's not
same.
federal.
It's $4.50.
Okay.
So it's very, very small. The airport collects $4.39. The airlines get to keep 11 cents for their administrative troubles in collecting that because they collect it for us. But that goes to fund, like I said, our capital projects, infrastructure projects. And that number, you've heard me say it before, I've been to DC countless times to lobby this one and talk to the lawmakers about it. But the max rate of that fee at $4.50 has not been increased in 24 years. So the cost of construction has gone up once or twice in 24 years. But that fee, Congress has not seen it clear to increase that fee for whatever reason. I think the main reason is the airlines have a strong lobby and they don't want that fee to increase, even though they approve our project. So it doesn't make common sense, but there's a reason somewhere that they don't like it. All right, out of my notes. I talked a little bit earlier about the airport being a community partner, and I think that's incredibly important because there's a lot that the community doesn't know about the airport. They may hear noise. They may see more cars coming in and out of the parking lot, but there's a lot that the airport does, and there's a lot that the airport invests in the community. We sponsor a lot of events around here, and at both airports. You saw the business after hours up in Beaufort. But we've got a unique opportunity here, and I have to tip my hat to the Chamber of Commerce because they saw a need with the election coming up. There are volunteer poll workers who work at each polling station, and those poll workers are there the whole time the polls are open, and they aren't fed. There's maybe mediocre, refreshments that are there. But the chamber saw a need and has put out a call for small businesses on the island to adopt a polling station. And then what that business would do is take care of meals for the poll workers. So they have a little bit of comfort while they're putting in that time to volunteer on voting day. And so that's a great opportunity for the airport to step out and again be a community partner. So we are going to do that. we've adopted the polling station that'll be at the library because it's right down the street from the airport. So it sounded like a good place to do it. So I just want to let you know, and anybody who's out there watching or watches this later, just let folks know that the airport is very interested in being a community partner. I've expressed this to county leadership, that they ought to look at us as an arm, as an ambassador to the community, that the county doesn't always have as many opportunities to do that, but we can because we are a business. So we work with the county to make sure they understand how we're spending those monies. And the FAA is in favor of that because that is promotion of the airport, which is exactly what the FAA wants you to do. And so they're behind us on those efforts as well. So a fun opportunity, and it's definitely a good deal. So we'll be doing that on Election Day. And we've also sponsored the Chamber's State of the Region. So I think some of you may be attending the State of the Region luncheon on October the 3rd. That's always a good event that the Chamber puts on here on the island. So we are a sponsor for that as well.
John, can you tell us the cost of the airport's participation in the polling station opportunity?
That'll depend on how many poll workers they have. This is a very small one, though. We're talking a couple $100. You know, you're just buying lunches, and then, you know, the other good thing about that is now we're sponsoring it, but now we're engaging another small business on the island for the food. So it's a win all the way around. You know, it's helping other small businesses, local businesses. So for a couple $100, I mean, it's a great goodwill effort, and it makes a lot of sense.
Just specific, talking Hilton Head Library?
Yes.
Because there are 3 different precincts there. I mean, it's not just one. It's probably one of the largest. So I'm assuming you just got one precinct.
I don't know what we have, but we're feeding people there, and we're happy about it, so.
They put up a sign or something.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. We are allowed, I mean, we're not going to be, you know, handing out huge brochures and distracting people from what they're doing, but we'll make sure that, you know, you're allowed to have some signage to say that you sponsored that event.
Only within 100, outside of 150 feet of the polling station.
Well, they can always vote for us. We want them to always vote for us.
John, are you running for office?
Not a chance. You heard that here first. All right. I mentioned last month that our air service development consultants will be coming in November, so I just want to remind you about that. This is the 21st of November. That is a board meeting date, so it's before Thanksgiving this year, so it kind of works out. So just keep that penciled in, and I'll get some more details for you. I've got a meeting with them next week, so we'll put some more details together. Beginning of October, Steve and I are going up to Charlotte, and we're going to be at the airport there for their annual airport engineering seminar. I've probably told you about that for a couple of years. I've been a presenter at that for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. So I'm doing that again. I'm going to moderate a panel on small airport issues. So that's always a fun event, but it's a 2-day seminar, and there's a variety of topics. So we're looking forward to attending that. So we'll come back with a report for you afterwards. We did submit a Hilton Head Island ATAX application like we do every year. You folks voted on, you know, us doing that way back in February or something like that. But we did submit that, and that, again, that funding it's $150,000 what we applied for, and all of that goes towards advertising. And it's got to be out-of-market advertising. It has to be outside 50 miles. But that $150,000 gets used for campaigns in, you know, New York, Boston, DC, Chicago, the big places where folks are coming from. And it obviously doesn't go real far, but we do add some of our funds to that as well. But without that ATAX money, we would not be able to run the campaigns that we run. So it's absolutely critical. Another grant application we submitted just yesterday was a BIL grant, so that's the bipartisan infrastructure law. It's another round of that grant opportunity coming, and this is for the contract towers. So if you remember, we won that the first year in 22, and we put a new radio system in for the controllers. They have brand new communications up there. This application is to address the tower itself. It's a 20-year-old building. Everything inside the building we own, and it's old. You know, we've got a leaky roof, we've got bad HVAC systems. We've got windows that are old and need to be replaced with, more energy efficient windows, doors, the same thing. Some antennas up top that need to be replaced because we've had issues with lightning and just aged antennas that will blow over in high winds. And those items have been deferred because of everything else that we've got to do on the airport. So it's hard to address all that. So we did put that application in, and hopefully we'll see something coming around. I'll put a note here to ask you guys for a support letter. So what we might do is draft a letter of support from our side and send it to you all, maybe to sign. And we'll get that up there to our federal delegation. And that way, if they're able to send their own letter of endorsement on that, then they can do that as well. Congresswoman Mace's office has always done that for us. So she's been very active in supporting our applications.
I'm not wanting to beat a dead horse, but where are we on the radar facility for the tower, or are we in the same place we were a year ago?
I think as far as radar goes, we're really not any closer on that. But as far as a viewing capability of some sort goes, we are closer because the FAA reauthorization bill that was signed in, I forget if it was April of this year, April or May, had a provision in there where I don't even know if it was just federal contract towers, but towers at smaller airports that did not have a radar viewing capability, ADS-B viewing screen. They're currently not allowed to do that, or they were not. But the FAA reauthorization bill said within 12 months of signing of that law that they can institute ADS-B in the cab, which is huge. Because now you can't use ADS-B to actually separate the aircraft, but at least the controllers can see the separation of the aircraft. So that's a huge win in that. And that's a good interim step, I think. In talking to the folks in the tower, that will really help them out so that they've got a visual. Because as you probably know from being in the sky, not every pilot actually knows if they're north, south, east, or west of the airfield. And they'll call out a direction, but they're not really there. And that can be a major issue, especially in this airspace where we've got military aircraft north and south of us. Plus, we're on the north-south flyway for commercial aircraft. So even though it doesn't look like there's a lot going on up there, if you pull up FlightAware at any given time, it will amaze you how much is in the air. Howard, you know that. There's a lot. So it's critically important that they can see something.
And this is, moving forward, this is really the wave of the future anyway. The reason why the ADS-B system is in there is because the long-term plan with the FAA is to eventually phase out radar altogether. So this whole business where it's taken so long to try to get radar in here, it's getting to the point where it's not worth it. This is a much better way to go. And I think that's spot on because this data is available. It's not that expensive to get. It's just a matter of approving it for the tower. But you mentioned something a few minutes ago that I want to go back to is this problem we've had with radio equipment. I don't know if everybody here is aware of the fact that we've had a serious problem with our weather reporting system at the tower since April. And I think you talked about a little bit. There's lightning problems, there's antenna problems and what have you. And I'm happy to report that just as of the last 48 hours, it's finally fixed.
Yeah, we had a combination of things that happened. There was a bad feed that was coming from the station in the yard to the tower. And then we had both systems hit by lightning. So the backup system and the main system both got knocked out. So that was interesting because we had to do some juggling with the airlines too. Because they know about that immediately. And
I happened to be in the air on Labor Day weekend, and there were 2 American flights that were actually threatening to turn around and go back to Charlotte because they couldn't get any weather. Luckily, that didn't happen, but that's what they were saying they did. And then the dispatchers apparently were all over the tower guys because people in the control tower are supposed to be certified weather observers, which these guys are. But if you don't have any equipment to measure the weather, you can't give them any information. So thankfully, that's
and the other challenge is there's not a certified weather station close enough for the commercial dispatchers. Our closest one, I think, is ARW. Yeah. And I think that's 11 or 12 nautical miles, and they needed it within 5, was it?
One airline needed within 5, the other within 10.
Yeah, so we're just outside the one that needed 10, but ARW is not close enough. So we don't have redundancy in the weather station itself.
Now, did I hear correctly that part of this problem with the lightning stuff is that the lightning arresting system was not working right? Is that true? That's why the antennas were getting
Good way to
fried?
put it.
Yeah, okay.
We'll leave it at that.
Does that have anything to do with the fact there used to be an ATIS, and now there's an AWAS report? If it's not,
Well, it's all combined with
it's
that.
all,
And then
yeah.
both systems got fried is what we're really
Yes.
talking about.
Okay.
Yep.
And now they're both back.
Okay.
Yep.
So do we have ATIS with the name now, or is it still?
One thing for guys that are pilots here, for the first time in 20 years, because it's been fixed, it used to be, there is a telephone that you can call up to get the weather information. You could only do that when the tower was closed. Now it's available 24/7.
It's like Beaufort Executive.
Yes.
Trying to step up their game to make us north of the Broad.
That's right. Okay, so last item, and I'll address our public comment. With the airport layout plan project coming up, that is a big planning project where, we'll look at all aspects of the airport and market demands, forecasts, things like that, infrastructure that'll be needed. And there will be some public components to that. We don't have a schedule yet for that because we were just receiving the grant, just getting that work authorization signed. So we will have more of a schedule here in the next couple of months. But there are some public portions of that, like there are with all ALPs. So we will have an opportunity to meet with the public, engage, answer some questions. We'll have boards set up to see what the airport looks like and that sort of thing.
Where, if someone was looking for it, say someone named Melinda, if she were looking for it, where would she go to look for that to be announced for the public comment? Just go to is it going to be on the county website under airports?
Yeah, we'll probably put it out through any way that we normally do a press release. So county will definitely put it out. We'll probably put it on our website, social media. So all of those. Yep. And then probably the traditional routes too, probably in the newspaper. I'm not sure anybody's looking at that anymore, but it'll definitely be on your computer. So if you do get those Beaufort County, updates for the recycling events and all that kind of thing, that's where this will definitely come through. We'll make sure that our PIO sends that information through there. And I think that's gotten me all the way through my notes, so I will open it up to questions.
You were talking about the hangar project over at ARW, which I think everybody, particularly over there, is excited about. It's been a long time since we heard anything about potential project here at our airport. Is there any update on any of that? I've been getting questions from my neighborhood because the developers of that project had met with Palmetto Hall in Port Royal, and that was a long time ago. It goes back to the end of last year. Is there anything new on that in the pipeline?
It actually had quieted down for a number of months, but I think that was because the developer was putting together a draft set of documents for us to review, and we just received those last week. So the good news is something happened, and we're not at the next step yet, but we have been given some information to take a look at least. So, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't even opened it yet, but we've got it now, so we'll take a look. Yeah.
Any other questions for John? All right, don't move, John, because I don't think we have any unfinished business, but we got to ask. Do we have any unfinished business from the last meeting? Anything to go over? Hearing none, we will then move on to new business action items. So let's start off with number one, the grant acceptance. Take it away, John.
All right, so the first one is South Carolina Aeronautics Commission grant was offered to us. And that's in the amount of $140,405, and that's for more radio sets for the air traffic control tower. Now this is in addition to what we did a couple of years ago. The stuff a couple of years ago was primarily what's used up in the cab with their switching devices and things like that. And then this is a different set of radios. There were, I think, 2 that were bad, but we decided to replace. Yep. So instead of replacing just 2 and having 2 new and 2 old that were going to go at any time, we got all 4 replaced, and that's what this does. So all the radio equipment will be up to snuff, modern. new technology. The old and the new did not interface, which isn't surprising. So this brings everything up to the same level.
And they link with AWAS and ADIS, so you can get a better service at everything is installed.
Okay, good. Does anybody have any questions on it? Any discussion?
No, I think you answered it. The only thing I want to know, because I read that whole thing, it didn't mention specifically what the equipment was that this grant was for, but I think you just answered that.
Okay, perfect. All right, can I get a motion? There we have it. Can I get a second? There we go. We got Leslie and Ann. Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes, and we'll move on to grant acceptance number 2.
All right, this is another South Carolina Aeronautics Commission grant, and it's in the amount of $157,006. And this is the 5% portion that SCAC takes care of for us on projects, and this is for the runway 725 rehab project at ARW. And so this is for the construction phase.
Yeah. Anybody have any discussions on that? I know we don't have a date on that yet. We had talked about that, so we don't, but you'll keep us posted on that, trying to figure out when, because the concern would be is construction costs going up if we delay it too long and then not meeting the amount that we.
Well, to that point, we do have bids are in. We do have a responsive low bidder selected, and we just didn't have that teed up for this meeting, so it'll come to you next month, and you'll get that.
Great, awesome.
Chris, is this a complete resurface, 725? And it's just the runway, not taxiways?
Correct.
Yeah. And I think did you say we're grooving it as well?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Since no other discussion, could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I knew we should let him. We'll do a second over there.
It's my airport, man.
Yeah, exactly. Brian seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none. If anybody's opposed, please let us know now. Hearing none, that will pass as well for grant acceptance number 2. Third is a work authorization.
All right, so this again is 725 at ARW, and this is for the construction administration, inspections, that sort of thing for Talbot Bright and Ellington to provide that service for us. Standard package that we do with every construction project.
Okay. Any questions for John on that?
And that is funded by the grant, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Having no discussion, can I get a motion? There we go, and Howard, sorry, Howard, I'm right-handed, so I keep looking this way. Any opposed? No, motion passes, so that work authorization is accepted. And next worker authorization.
All right, this was down here to Hilton Head Island Airport, and it's for design and bidding services for airfield drainage. And what this is for to upgrade some of the on-airfield drainage structures and grates that prior to us upgrading from C2 to C3 airport were outside the runway safety area. Now they're inside the runway safety area because that grew. So these now have to be upgraded in their structural strength and the ability for an aircraft to roll over those if need be. So that's what this does. It'll redesign, or it'll design some new structures that'll be put in place of the old structures.
That's where it's starting.
Okay, anybody have any questions for John on that? Pretty straightforward. Have no discussion? Very quick, good job. So that's Leslie will be number 1. And might as well keep the team. Teamwork makes the dream work. Way to go. Any opposed to the work authorization? Hearing none, that will pass as well. Number 4, so we'll move on to number 5, resolution.
All right, this is, if you go back to the wildlife assessment that I mentioned, the wildlife hazard assessment, kind of another piece of that is making sure that we've got a contract with USDA to help us deal with any wildlife issues we have on the airport. So that means if maybe you read the paper this week or saw the headlines from the committee meeting the other day, but the animal control officer was briefing the coyote problem in the county and how it's rampant. We have had coyotes on both airports. You get deer at both airports, more so at ARW than here. But there are times when wildlife has to be removed from the airport. And so we have had a standing contract with USDA to handle that for us. This is just a new contract. That one had finished up and we spent the money. So we're back in the game with USDA with this one, so they'll provide services at both airports on
And
call.
let everybody know too, USDA is on base, basically at the air station, so it's not, they're pretty close by for us because of the Marine Corps Air Station. They're there all the time.
Right.
They're not far away when we have an issue.
Is there a cost associated with John with this?
There is, and
Base?
it was 15, if I remember correctly, it was $15,000. And basically what that is, we sign that agreement and then they invoice us as we call for their services. So we've got that moving forward. Sorry?
It's up to.
Up to.
Any other discussion?
So that's when they have to come to remove something.
Yes.
But as far as prevention, probably the biggest prevention at the airport is the fence, right?
It is
How often does the fence perimeter get checked to make sure it's intact?
multiple times a day.
Okay, good.
And you'd be amazed what tries to dig under the fence, and one of the issues we've got is the vegetation along the fence line. So and it's an example of when sometimes we come up against local ordinances. So I'll be coordinating with the town's planning staff on that, because one of the recommendations of the report was to have some standoff from the fence, which conflicts with the ordinance. So we're gonna have to do some diplomacy.
All right, can I get a motion? Okay, first, and Leslie again. All right, so does anybody have any issues against this motion? I'm hearing none, it passes. I was looking for my words. I was struggling there. So that's 5, so we'll move on to chairman update. Chairman doesn't really have any updates. He's an open book. He has no updates today. So we'll move on to the committee reports. ARW we've kind of gone over unless there was something else. Jim Starnes isn't here, so I'm assuming hasn't been anything new other than what we've already gotten on the hangars. HXG, Brian, is there anything more over with the with having your meetings with hangar tenants?
No, nothing new about that, except one question to ask you guys that came up with the Beaufort County rented hangars behind Signature. A few people have asked, how often does that bathroom get serviced?
I'll get that answer for you.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. And then ambassador program? Would you like to update us on the ambassador?
I'll just give you a final report
Yeah.
because the program has now ended. We had 15 ambassadors this summer, very energetic, and it worked out that they maybe worked at the most twice a month. It spread it out, so no one really had to be tasked with a lot of working. 5 board members, thank you board members, and Brian is still wearing his wonderful shirt that we have.
There you go.
So we appreciate that. Look forward to that. Everyone was very willing to work this summer. We used 2 ambassadors each side of the airport, one in front of pre-check and one over by the standard screening area where they could see monitor the door for arriving passengers. The flight loads this summer were substantially less than previous years. And overall, their lines were, I would say, they were none, because anything beyond less than 20 minutes is not considered a line by TSA. But this summer was great, and most of the action was between 11 and 12:30 when there were 7 flights coming in on weekends. So that was pretty much it. So most of our ambassadors got to go home early. The pre-check line, of course, was usually longer than standard screening. We all know that. The one thing I want to end with, our program has generated a lot of enthusiasm out in the community. I've already got 5 or 6 names from people who want to start next year. So it's really a good program to continue supporting the airport. Thank you for including the ambassadors at a lot of the activities at the airport. That keeps them energized.
I might want to add that the fact that the passenger load was down this summer was actually a plus. Because at least when I was doing my shifts, it gave me more opportunity to interact with the passengers. They all have some very, very helpful questions to ask, and we were able to have a lot more dialogue that we couldn't do if we were too busy.
And the plan, it will be planned is to start again next year, do the exact same thing, and hopefully have more volunteers.
I'm sure it's gonna be a different footprint because of not knowing where we're gonna be,
Yeah,
with the construction, but hoping that we'll be seeing some temporary walls here and there to get to the new section.
well, that's when you guys will be needed the most.
Yeah.
So you want to also say thank you to Chase, who is our full-time, part-time ambassador. He was out there at all busy times doing a great job. He enjoys the opportunity, so John, thanks for making that available to him. He was a great participant. But I do have a question for you, which you may not have an answer for, and that's dealing with TSA. When I was out there for my shifts, the biggest lines were, as Leslie said, were TSA, but most of that was due to the processing time to get the luggage through their screening device. Now, if we've all traveled and we've used other commercial airports, it seems to me that most of the larger commercial airports have equipment that process that luggage at a much faster pace than this one does. The initial screening was fine, photo now being taken rather than needing a boarding pass, but the processing time to get the luggage through the equipment was really slow and caused most of the problem that I observed, at least during my shift. So I don't know if that's a discussion you can have with TSA or that's just out of bounds altogether.
I would say a lot of that was really because of the passenger themselves, and many times I heard TSA get out there and announce to them, make sure all your liquids are taken out of the bag, and they just don't do that. They don't realize it until they get up there and their bag's getting ready to go in, and there's either something in there that shouldn't be, or they catch it and they...
Well, and TSA changed, like I've got, the TSA pre-check, but I noticed from going through different pre-check lines at different airports, the requirement with computers is different at every airport. Sometimes I don't have to take, and I have to listen to say, do I have to take computer out or not? Because most of the time I don't, but every once in a while I'll hit one that I do have to. And that, and I slow it down by not knowing, and I got to pull that out and or iPad. So
I think Howard, though, has brought up the most important point, because that problem started when they got that new equipment. It's not recent. It's been over a year ago now.
The only time that I ever saw a line there was when the equipment failed and they had to get it back up. And that, in getting to your point, having probably been through more airports than anyone here, the TSA standards are not there. Airports are different, and that's a frustrating part for passengers that fly a lot. Yeah, but I think, Brian, you were right. The change came when they installed the new equipment over
It was supposed to be better, but it was slower. That's the problem.
It probably screens better, but the process is just slower.
And the other confusing part that we as ambassadors really helped solve is the fact that, unlike a lot of other airports, there's a TSA pre-check line and a regular line. Well, there's only one place where they all get funneled to. So many times people that at TSA pre-check were waiting in this long line, and the non-TSA line was completely empty. I said, you just go over there and you just get your TSA. But they didn't think they were allowed to do that.
Yeah.
That made a huge difference in getting those lines moving. So it all worked out in the end, but the program really helped do that.
With the new airport, right? Because you'll have two
separate.
lanes.
Okay.
Is it 2 lanes with the same, John, do you know if it's 2 lanes with the same equipment or 2 lanes with additional new equipment? Unknown.
TSA, Howard, we haven't told you.
Yeah.
Unknown, okay, I got it.
All right, that concludes committee reports. We're back up for citizen comment. Please limit your comment to 3 minutes. Yes, please come on up.
Oh, by the way, David, we allow elected officials to be ambassadors too.
Thank you. I look forward to the opportunity.
You'll have more time now, David.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm,
outside, yeah.
And to run 5Ks.
I'm a short timer now. I have only a couple months left before I cycle off the town council. I just wanted to say I've been honored to serve as the liaison to the airport board. I've enjoyed working with all of you and also with John. It's a great organization. I'm sorry I don't fly anymore, but keep up the good work and thank you very much.
Well, thank you for all your input, David. Appreciate it. Okay, we can come up now. We'll move to our last portion, and that will be adjournment. Can I get a motion for that?
I'd make a motion.
Okay.
I'll
First
second.
and second.
I'll second.
Okay. We're all good? Third, you have another one?
Got a left hand now, right?
Okay, left hand. Put Howard down too, please, even though it'll be three of them. All right, we're adjourned. See you next month.